It's
Yay!
working. All right.
Hey everyone.
Last time we had some technical difficulties. Hopefully we don't this time.
Yeah, if our audio is coming through okay, we'd love a little bit of feedback if you guys want to send us a message.
Yeah, let us know.
Cool.
Hello from the Oregon coast.
Hey Adam.
How are you? And Alan?
Sweet.
Yeah, if one of you guys want to let us know,
Cool.
good audio. Perfect.
Thanks, Michael.
Excellent. Well,
Nice. All right,
Oh, yeah.
so that's a little delayed. We just got your messages.
yeah. We've got
Okay.
like dueling setups here.
Yeah.
We're streaming from the phone, but then there's some new YouTube streaming software from on the desktop. We have Houston on the line as well. Good. We can call home to Houston. Mission control.
Yes.
Well, I think let's give it another minute or two and see if we've got a couple of late joiners, and I guess we'll dive into the little bit about what we've been up to the last few months, and then I guess we'll do some questions. I hope you guys have brought some questions and things you want to hear us yak about, and we'll hang out, until we answer enough questions.
And then we have a date later on with our friends, our Canadian friends, actually.
Yeah.
So we're not on the boat, as you can probably tell from
Hey, what's up, Jordan and Randy?
the bookshelves behind us. We, believe it or not, are currently in Montreal,
Canada.
Yeah. We left Florida about a week ago and drove up the East Coast and actually met some sailing friends in Maine. And then left Maine, stopped in Montreal, and tomorrow we're going to be leaving to get back to Michigan to get to Kirk's family to see.
So we're doing
to see them.
a little road trip in Chip.
Yeah, in the van.
The off season house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we've been trying to figure out like where should we start with kind of what's been happening with us lately. I assume most people know that we ended up in the Bahamas last year in the Abacos.
And when we say last year,
Yeah,
we mean
this is last cruising season. I
right
keep doing that.
earlier this calendar year.
Yeah, so this spring.
Yeah.
We ended up in the Abacos, and we had a fantastic time in the Abacos, and we crossed back over to Florida, but had planned on skipping Florida altogether, and had some issues with our autopilot. So we ended up turning a bit earlier than we thought we were going to, and landed in New Smyrna.
Yeah, New Smyrna.
And then did a little ICW run up to St. Augustine and hung out there for a little while. And that's where we were struck by lightning. So we had planned on going much further north this summer, but Mother Nature just had other plans for us, and so we ended up hauling the boat out in St. Augustine.
Well, yeah, so further north, basically we just wanted to get out of the hurricane box. We wanted to get up to North Carolina and maybe the Chesapeake and leave the boat there. But it got later and later and later, and so we knew that we were going to be going back to the Bahamas. And then we started thinking, why are we going way up there when we're just going to be needing to sail back down? So we figured we should maybe just stay in Florida.
And if we could have done it in a couple of big hops, it would have worked. But
right, and if we had an autopilot, maybe we still would have considered it.
We were running into issues. So it just seemed like the weather and the world and everything was just conspiring to have us stay in Florida. But it's been really interesting. So we've spent the last month and a half like just dealing with insurance. And to be honest, this really hasn't been a terrible experience. Like, we tell people we got struck by lightning and everyone's like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, is the boat okay? Like, oh, that's gotta be so terrible. And
it sounds disastrous.
It does.
It immediately, right after we got hit, well, we actually didn't know if we were hit or not. We thought that the lightning struck maybe 100 feet from our boat. And then later on, we were talking to someone who was actually in the marina office, which is only a couple hundred feet from our boat. And he said, I thought it struck your boat. So it could have actually just been like, what was the little branch that's called?
Little branches, or the feeders, I think someone called them.
Yeah, so maybe that's why it wasn't as bad as a lot of other lightning strikes that we've heard about. We didn't suffer any structural or hull damage that we're, well, we didn't.
That we're aware of.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
did a pretty good inspection.
And we had a surveyor come and take a look. And
But the timing really couldn't have been better either. At that point, we were,
Yeah.
we knew our season was kind of winding down, and so we got insurance basically to cover the haul out for us in the first couple of months of summer hurricane storage.
Yeah, we kind of
so we sort of lucked out there.
really lucky. Yeah. Hey, Chris from Portland. Awesome to have you. Yeah, it could not have been a better time. Like, we were literally waiting for a boatyard to have space for us to haul us out. So maybe if we didn't have to wait, we would have been hauled out before we got hit. But this way, we didn't have any real damage. I mean, there's electronics that we have to replace. But yeah, like Kirk said, our insurance is fantastic, and they're gonna cover a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So the only issue now is we just have much more work to do before we go into the water next year than we thought.
Yeah.
We have actually. It seems like we're constantly dogged with semi-large repairs. Last year we did a bottom job, so we repainted the whole hull and scraped it clean all the way down to gel coat, and so we'll be covering that in video here shortly. But
yeah, coming up.
This year we knew we were going to have to do some work with our chain plates and our bulkheads. We were getting a pretty bad leak around one of our forward shrouds, and so they're in our boat. They're accessible, but you have to like rip into a bunch of stuff to get to them. So we knew that was going to be kind of our big job before we left. In addition to actually replacing the fuel tank that we just made a minor repair on at the beginning of last season. So that we were comfortable with. We had already pulled out the fuel tank once, and now we know how it works. So I was like, all right, we just get a new fuel tank, and it's expensive, but we can just pop it in there. The chain plates was going to be the big project, but now we are adding a whole bunch of other new electronics and rewiring the mast and
electronics, plug and play, right? Yeah. If we've learned anything from boat projects, we know that it's never as easy as you wish or you hope or you think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot. And the thing is, we actually probably won't replace everything because not everything did we really need.
Right. So Daniel, thank you so much for the offer. We are all set.
Thank you. Yeah.
We are up north visiting family for the summer, so we're in a good position at the moment
for the summer, for the end of August and September, and the first couple weeks of October, and then the plan is to be back in Florida at the end of October. Get back on the boat.
What were we saying?
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I forgot.
Oh, well, we just Daniel just offered us a room in St. Augustine.
Yeah, no, what we were talking about before.
We were visiting family. Shoot, guys, what were we talking about?
We lost our notes. We lost our train of thought. The big projects that we were working on.
Oh, I said we're not going to replace everything.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So there's a number of things. The way that insurance works is actually pretty cool. So we
just got us.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris, and Daniel. The way that insurance is working for us is we needed to get an estimate of all the repairs and send that to them, and they had the surveyor look over that list of repairs and the cost and everything, and kind of approve whether or not that seemed acceptable. So we did that. We've just been waiting for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and just yesterday actually we got the final approval on everything. But we sent them a list of like everything that we had noticed after the lightning strike that was either completely not working or we had just noticed some weird oddities. So like our refrigeration system, it stopped working the very next day after the lightning strike, but it had been pretty much working normally every day since.
Yeah.
So we marked that down like, hey, we don't know if there's going to be an issue with the compressor. We've heard lots of stories of people talking about how things just spontaneously fail like 3, 4, 5, 6 months later.
Because the sensitive parts have been compromised, but they might still be working, and then all of a sudden, that just after repeated use, it just goes.
Yeah. So like we claimed our refrigeration, and we got reimbursed for what it would cost to replace that. But we're not going to immediately replace our refrigeration. We're going to kind of hold on to that, and if we notice that our refrigerator goes and we're out sailing, then we're going to be without ice for a little while.
Well, yeah. Then hopefully as soon as we can get it done.
Yeah, it's not a mission critical thing. Whereas like our VHF radio, that we're probably going to, because we're almost certain that the lightning or some bit of lightning struck the antenna, because the VHF antenna just completely disintegrated. It just blew off the mast. There's nothing left of it.
Yeah, that was actually the thing that clued us into, well, we probably did get hit, because for the first day and a half, we didn't actually think that we had been. And then we were dinging back to the boat, and we were looking at the top of the mast, and Kirk's like,
there's no VHF antenna.
There's no antenna. I'm like, holy crap.
But so the VHF radio, we're probably just going to buy an exact replacement of the radio that we have, because it is mission critical. It's a safety item, and just have that as a spare sitting in the boat, so that if the radio does crap out, we literally just unplug the cables, plug the same cables back into the new radio, and we'll have to deal with the MMSI number or whatever else. But at least we could use it. It would be usable. So there's little decisions like that where we're gonna end up, probably because we're gonna be doing most of this stuff ourselves, we're gonna end up coming out in a fairly good position. It just requires a lot more manual labor on our end than we initially were looking at. So if you're gonna get struck by lightning, make sure it happens while you're at the dock at a mooring ball and about ready to be hauled out.
Yeah.
That's the lesson we've learned.
Works out great.
So just tell Zeus, or however, whatever.
Hey, John from the Keys. Good to have you. Yeah, we're glossing over the 3 or 4 weeks of
stressing and
it was especially
anxiety
the first week after it happened, because we still had no idea whether or not we were going to be able to be hauled out, because all the yards were really full, and we really at that point didn't want to consider sailing or traveling any far distance without having our boat looked at. We
didn't have navigation lights, we didn't have a radio, we didn't
know what else was going to fail.
A lot.
So we got really anxious, and then so
that, and it was already hurricane season, and hurricanes are rare in the beginning of July, but they do happen, and we were just like, oh god, that would be the worst thing in the world to just have a hurricane coming down on us right now, and we'd have to leave.
Sitting ducks.
It would have been really rough.
Yeah.
But anyhow, long story short, that's we're up north for a little while visiting family. My sister is getting married this October, and so we're gonna be heading right back down to the boat immediately after her wedding, after we sober up, I think, to begin working on all of the lightning damage. We're hoping to kind of get through those things fairly quickly. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Jordan and Randy know how long boat projects take. They've been working on their boat for quite a while. I'm sure many of you also know.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, so John here had a question.
Yeah, the question about, is the insurance company going to renew? So here's what's kind of interesting. We have our insurance through Boat US, and we have not, maybe this is a topic we can talk about a little bit. That might be kind of interesting.
Sure, why not?
Quick aside, our boat is hauled out right now. Yes, we are aware of the storm Dorian. It is nerve-wracking, but I think we're far enough north that we should mostly avoid it. But we're keeping very close tabs on it. So insurance, we have we have a loan on our boat. So we've talked about that a little bit, and we can talk about that more if you find that interesting. But with the loan on our boat, we have to have quote unquote full coverage insurance. It's a little bit different than the auto industry, but it's kind of the same concept. We need to be able to cover the value of the boat. And there's a few different ways of doing it. And we'll probably do a video on this also at some point. But there's agreed upon value is one methodology for coming to the value of the boat. What's the one where you just pick a value? Is that agreed value?
I think that's agreed value. And
I can't remember that one then.
Then there's there's assessed value or something like that.
Okay.
That's not what it's called, but
so going from the least coverage to the most, there's basically you say I want coverage for $40,000 or 30 or whatever it is, and it's just a flat number, and you have coverage for that amount, whether your boat's worth $40,000 or $100,000. You've just said I want this much insurance.
And so if your boat is determined,
that's your coverage.
Yeah, that's your coverage.
And then the next one up from that is actually what we have, which I think is called agreed value,
No,
which is a confusing term, but I
Oh.
think that's what that one's actually called.
Agreed cost, agreed value.
Yeah, I don't know.
Agreed price.
But what it does is basically they use a number of different valuation methodologies, like it's an NADA is a way that they track boat values,
Which
and a
is
few
basically
other
like Kelley Blue Book, but for boats.
And they say, okay, this boat we think is worth X amount of dollars, and whether it goes up or down, it's sort of dependent on the market. And our boat has actually been increasing in value, like maybe a couple $100 a year. For the past 8 or 9 years, just because it's an older boat, it's a well-built boat. So we said, that's the one we want. Let's go with that, because we're kind of like getting slightly more coverage each year.
Yeah.
But then there's replacement cost value, which basically that's like the Cadillac of insurance. So if you have replacement cost value or replacement cost insurance, then they will pay whatever it costs to get you that boat, like no questions asked.
Which is interesting because it's like you can't get another Tartan 37 like new. So
right, it's in a similar state of condition and all of that.
So that's interesting.
But basically with ours, what we have is we actually have replacement cost up to the value of the boat. So they value the boat at, let's say it was like $43,000, roughly our purchase price of our boat. They will pay out replacement cost for anything we need up to that $43,000, with the exception of anything that is 20, or was it 25 years?
No, 20 years.
20 years or older. So for us, with a lightning strike, all of the electronics have pretty much been replaced before.
Except for the instruments.
Except for the engine instruments. Those were original. So the tachometer and the hour meter and the oil pressure gauge. But those are fairly cheap instruments at this point.
But the Signet instruments as well, weren't they?
Those were 2011.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, we have the equivalent of replacement cost in every event, except for like a total loss of our boat. Like a lightning strike is one of the more catastrophic events that you can have, just because electronics are so expensive. So we're basically getting like the value or the benefit of a replacement cost insurance policy, but we're paying a fairly significantly lower premium. And that doesn't work out for everyone in every situation, but after like reading through how all of these insurance policies work, we felt like that was the best decision for us, and it really seriously paid off. We are so thankful that we have insurance, because I think if we didn't actually purchase the boat using a loan, I'm not sure we would have also been smart enough to get full coverage insurance. I think we would have maybe been like, ooh, let's self-insure, and like, how likely is it for us to have a lightning strike? And then we would be on the fence for everything.
It turns out very likely when you're in Florida for a lot of the time, especially during stormy season.
What's that?
Getting hit by lightning.
Getting hit by lightning.
Yeah, it's like Hurricane Alley, or no, Lightning Alley or something like that. So Chris and Kel, yes, it includes labor.
And what's interesting is with our I think it's called agreed value, our version of the insurance, they pay 100% of labor no matter what. So even if it's on parts that are more than 20 years old, which they do depreciate, they will pay 100% of the labor cost to replace those, but they will pay a depreciated cost for the parts. So like if, our tachometer, for instance, it's over 20 years old, they estimated the cost for a new tachometer to be like $200. So they only gave us like, I don't know, 60 or something, but they are going to give us 100% of the labor to replace that. So we're on the hook for the other $140 for getting that gauge, unless we can find it cheaper than $200 somewhere.
And then the crazier thing is that, so they cover the labor at 100%. And then, I mean, this isn't outrageous for a lot of boat yards, but the boat yard that we're at the moment, they charge 30% for any outside contractors. That's including parts.
That's on top of the invoice you get from whoever you're getting to do your
say
work.
we get an invoice from some electronics guy for labor, for parts. Then we have to give that to the boatyard, and they say, oh, okay, you give us 30% of this total, which blew us away. But then we turned around to Boat US and we said, ooh, what do we do with this? And they said, oh, we cover that too.
Yeah.
So
So up to the value of the boat.
Right,
So it's
right,
everything
right.
is
Yeah.
within your policy.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing that I did find out, and I don't think I told you this, is the haul out, the storage, the survey, and like all of the work to uncover what the issues are is paid out of a different bucket.
Really?
So like if we went to a boatyard and the boatyard was like, this is $40,000 to haul your boat out and store it for however long it's going to take to do this.
Yeah.
That doesn't detract from your like $43,000 policy.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So they could end up spending more than what our boat is worth on our boat.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's true for everyone, but we found out that
Yeah.
was pretty interesting as
And
well.
yeah, Michael, so 30% robbery, sure. Especially when they don't give you the option to hire their own workers. The yard that we're at doesn't offer they have an electronics person, but they don't have anybody else. They don't have their own riggers. They don't have like mechanics, anything like that. So you're forced to go outside.
Or do it yourself.
Right.
Which is what we're
yeah.
hoping to do.
Yeah.
So we realize there's a lot of questions going through here, and we're going to get to some of the more general questions in a little bit. I wanted to just follow up on a little bit more of the insurance talk.
Yeah, I think we stopped it right there.
We have our insurance through Boat US. They have been fantastic for us, and please do your own research. Don't take everything we said as the gospel because we haven't read your insurance policy. So make sure that this is, just sort of like word of mouth advice, but definitely do your research. Boat US has been fantastic for us. I don't know what it's going to be like going forward. After Irma and Michael, a few years ago, everyone said, oh my God, the insurance is going to go up so much. It's going to be terrible. No one's going to be able to get insurance. We have insurance that covers us in the hurricane box 100% of the year, which a lot of people have told us, like, what? How did you get that? And we have insurance on a 1979 boat. How did you get that? There's all these things that we've heard people struggle with in getting insurance, but for whatever reason, we haven't had an issue. And when everyone was complaining about insurance rates going up, I don't think ours hardly changed. It was like a few dollars maybe. So knock on wood, we have been incredibly lucky with insurance. How that's going to change in the future, I have no idea.
Right, yeah. I think someone mentioned in there, sticker shock, are they going to renew?
Right. And what's interesting is we were struck by lightning less than 24 hours after we renewed our annual insurance policy.
Yeah.
So what'll happen, 8-9 months from now when we have to renew, I'm not sure, but we're at least covered through the end of next cruising season. So right now we're gonna revel in it. We can stress about that next year. All right. So let's see here. Any preventative measures against lightning strikes? We do not propose to be experts in this field, but from what we've read, there's sort of two trains of thought or two schools of thought. It's either make your boat as visible to lightning as possible, aka like give it the path of least resistance and make sure that you sort of direct it where you want it to go by using heavy gauge cable from the mast and all of your shrouds and having a good grounding system, or try to make it as invisible to lightning as possible. I don't know which is going to work better. I feel like taking the more proactive route of saying, if I'm going to get struck, this is where I want it to go and I want it to follow this path makes the most sense to me. But
there's a lot of voodoo magic happening.
Total voodoo
that
magic.
we don't understand about lightning.
We're going to have like a little pin cushion that we're going to like, it's going to be shaped like, I don't know, someone else's boat that we don't like or something. Stick pins in it and go strike that one.
Whose other boat would this
I don't know. A pirate ship. All right. So let's see here. Which is the
I wanted to say, hey Toby,
be a lot of money.
Thanks for joining us.
The insurance adjuster that we worked with did talk about, like, if this ends up being more than what the cost of the boat is, we would total the boat. I don't know what would happen in that event. Would we have the opportunity to repurchase the boat back from them? I don't know how that all works because we didn't go down that path because I was fairly certain that our boat was
No.
worth quite a bit more than what we were going to have assessed as damage. So I don't know what would happen in that situation.
Yeah.
And I hope we don't find out, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We never know what's around the corner for us.
Yeah. Dorian.
That's interesting to hear, Jordan. They'll cover 50% of a haul out to prepare for Dorian. Seems a bit early. Yes. I think for you guys, especially down in the Keys, it feels like it's going to be going quite a bit north for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
Although, yeah.
double up those dock lines. Those fender boards should be working overtime for you guys. I hope they don't snap. All right, let's go back to your insurance was $16,000 a year.
Spring lines, yes.
There you go, spring lines. What type of boat were you getting covered for $16,000 a year? That seems
Yeah.
like you are on a large boat.
That are extremely well outfitted boat.
All right, Daniel, we'll talk with you maybe offline about going back down to St. Augustine. If you're in the area, it would be fun to meet up.
Mm-hmm.
We are a fan of St. Augustine. We very much enjoyed our time there. If we were going to be stuck somewhere in Florida, that was probably near the top of our list.
Yeah.
We really liked it there.
I mean,
And the surf was actually better than I thought it was going to be. I got out and surfed before we left.
That's right.
It was quite fun.
Kirk was very stoked about that. It's just everything's within walking distance from where we were at the municipal marina on our mooring ball for a month, and then since we've been hauled out at the yard, which is just a little bit south of downtown, and it's so nice to be able to leave the boat after spending the whole day working on it, and then go out and be in a different world.
Yeah. So we actually, before we found the yard that we're in now, we actually drove out and looked at all of the yards on the what's the name of the river? Just inland from Jacksonville, and I can't remember the name of the river, but way out into the middle of Central Florida, we were
what's the
looking
name
at
of the
tiny
town?
little boat yards.
Yeah, where everyone talks about we just put it out of our mind.
Yeah.
Totally forgot it.
Um,
Anyway, we drove around and it felt like we were in the middle of nowhere out there.
yeah.
Which we were. And if we would have had a car, I think it would have been a little bit different because we just didn't know how long we'd be there because of all the lightning stuff. And
St. John River. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But we were looking at very tiny boatyards, which would have been a much different experience than like being where we're at now, which is like the center of St. Augustine.
Mm-hmm.
Nightlife abounds, and we would have been kind of out in the woods, so it would have been like a camping experience, which we were totally digging. We were like, oh, this would be kind of fun. Build like our own little compound out here and
Mm-hmm.
work on the boat. But yeah, so St. Augustine was a good place.
Yeah. It's really nice.
So let's have we covered everything that we've got going on? We can start talking about future stuff, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. There was one question about dream destinations.
Yeah, that's kind of like future stuff, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have questions about like I don't know, the lightning or the insurance or
Right.
stuff in the past
Call
or
out,
stuff
Florida,
we've
whatever.
shared thus far before we start talking
Go ahead
future? Yeah.
and shoot. Yeah.
MBA PSU. I don't know how to say
Yeah,
your name. Mbapsu.
Yeah, no, it's funny because
We'll let's talk with you too. If you're near St. Augustine, maybe we can do like a Patreon meetup when we get back down there.
Yeah.
Northern Florida.
But I recognize your screen name, and it's funny because you had your real name attached to your Patreon account, sort of, but I can't.
Sort of.
Anyway, but yeah, definitely love to meet up with you.
Mark,
that's right. Okay.
All right,
Awesome.
Mark. All right, well, let's talk about future stuff, I guess. So we have a
Yeah.
couple of questions, which maybe let's do those before we just dive into other stuff. But where do we plan to sail next year?
So last year we did the Abacos because we realized we'd only have about 2 months in the Bahamas, and last year again meant the spring. So this year, which we keep talking about, is whenever we leave the boatyard, hopefully December, before the holidays.
Yeah.
And we want a straight shot all the
Run
way
south as
to
far
the
as we can.
Exumas, and
Yeah, through the
maybe
Bahamas.
even Turks and Caicos. We'll see how crazy we get. Yeah, and then we're gonna slowly work our way back north to get to the Abacos in the spring again, and then after that, the plan right now is to hop over to the East Coast, which at that point we have to start reassessing our subtitle in our Patreon page,
Yeah,
which is
we might be sailing north.
telling a story about sailing south. Yeah. But yeah, that's the goal or the plans for December through
the next 12 months.
Yeah.
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 So
crazy.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to being able to explore the Exumas. I guess a little bit of talk. There was a question about like real jobs and all of that stuff. That's been kind of what's been holding us back, both in the channel and just in sailing.
Mm-hmm.
We still are sort of tied to Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi in the Bahamas was amazing.
It was way more than we expected, and if we knew it was going to be that good, I think we would have gone
there much sooner.
Yeah.
It was much easier to work from the boat in the Bahamas than it was in Florida, in anywhere on the river, anywhere we've been, basically. We were anchored out like miles and miles and miles away from any little town or settlement and still had like 4 bars of LTE. It was insane.
It's crazy.
So it was super easy to work on, but I think as we get further out into the Exumas and some of the more remote parts of the Bahamas and even further south, that's probably not going to continue to be that way. So until we can really fully ditch the job for a while, I think we're not going to be crossing oceans or
Hi, Daniel.
or things like that. So
yeah, you're right.
That is long-term dreams, but immediate future, we're still sort of stuck with that. Okay, and what dream destinations? I think we both dream about sailing and surfing a little bit more, so I think that means more Pacific stuff.
I mean, the big dream was to return to Australia, which
sail under the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Yeah, and sail into Sydney Harbour Bridge. So
that's
when
the big
that's
dream.
Gonna happen, not really sure. But
yeah. All right, so let's dive into some more comments here. Annapolis Boat Show. We want to go to the Annapolis Boat Show so bad, and we've had so many people ask us and invites, and unfortunately this year my sister is getting married that weekend. Yeah. So
we were so bummed to find that out.
So we're not going to be there this year,
Yeah.
but we hopefully we're kind of thinking if it may work out, maybe we'll be there. Probably not with the boat next year, I guess. It's pretty late in this season.
Yeah.
But
okay, so that's the thing is like we might leave the boat somewhere instead of going further north.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, we don't know.
We hope to be there next year. We think it'd be really fun. It's
Whether
been like on our bucket list for a long time.
Whether or not the boat will be there, I don't know. But we hope to be there next year.
Yeah. So let's see here. Follower from 10,000 subs, congrats on 50K. You're getting closer to self-sufficiency without real jobs. We are absolutely. We're getting excited. We still. So we mentioned in this video that we make a tiny bit of money via rental income. We actually sold one of our condos this spring, which wasn't under our own decision. We would have loved to have held on to it, but the condo building itself was being sold, so all of the units in the building had to sell regardless of whether we wanted to. But that was the first time we've actually sold a property, so we've only bought real estate. So that was an interesting experience, but that freed up a little bit of cash. So we've been kind of re-looking at rental property again. It's just the market is, without getting too into the weeds about things, it's just, who knows where it's going to go right now. It seems like it's kind of
a little bubbly.
So
yeah.
We're patiently watching, but we're keeping our eyes out. Paul just asked if we make more income from real estate or YouTube. YouTube specifically, we make more money from real estate, but from the channel and Patreon and all of the stuff.
All of you guys supporting the videos, definitely more from that.
Definitely from that.
Yeah.
But it's also much more active. Our real estate, our rentals are pretty well run on autopilot at this point. We've been managing them remotely since we moved to California 10 years ago.
Yeah, and Kirk has set up all of the channels, I guess, to be able to operate it remotely. Like all of the tenants will pay us online, electronically. We actually even did our first tenant turnover remotely last year.
Yeah, we haven't even met our new tenants, so that's one of the
Yeah.
things that we're going to do on this trip north is just go and introduce ourselves
Yeah.
for the first time and
Yeah.
make sure they have everything they need and just kind of build that relationship a little bit because they actually signed up for a 2-year lease, which was pretty cool. So they're going to hopefully stick with us for a little while.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest time-consuming things, at least for us, is just turning a tenant over. And otherwise, because our number one goal or our number one aim, I guess, with running rental property, was to always vet the tenant
Well,
very well.
pick your tenants well, and the rest will be easy.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some incredible tenants who are just so easygoing. If something's wrong, we hire a plumber or something, go and fix it, and it's really actually no big deal because these are condos, and so we don't have to deal with a lot of outside stuff. But yeah, I mean, how much time do you think you spend a month working on that? Dealing with
minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
less
I mean,
than
it
an
only
hour.
averaged out over the year. Yeah, I spend more time just like doing our finances as a whole than
Yeah.
dealing with the rental.
Yeah, whereas all of our
All of the
videos,
YouTube stuff is
channel,
pretty
and Patreon.
all encompassing.
Yeah, I mean that's my full-time job. So, and then I mean, Kirk's part-time job.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So yeah, we want to do more real estate. That's our long-term thing. It's a passion of mine, of ours, I guess. We both enjoy architecture. I think maybe you slightly less than I do, but I've always really loved.
Yeah, no, I like the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I shot real estate photography in Chicago and in California. Like that was the type of photography that I've always loved the most. Actually, even since I was a kid, I always liked to shoot city scenes and landscapes and spaces. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Mark just asked how many rentals we have. We had 3 rental units, and we sold one, so we're down to 2. And right now we're looking at potentially multi-units for future purchase. So we'll see what happens. But it's been enjoyable thus far. So let's see. Michael asked if we can do a video on our setup for Wi-Fi and what service we use. We will certainly talk about this in more detail in future videos and bits and pieces.
You can explain it real quick.
Yeah, I think it might be better even as just a blog post. But we have, basically we don't use Wi-Fi all that much. So I did some research before we left, before we even bought boats, like when we were just looking at boats, like a few years ago. And with the advent of 4G, where cell service was getting to be the speeds of Wi-Fi or close to it.
And a lot of Wi-Fi networks started to be closed. And no
Right.
longer
Well,
open.
so that was the thing, is that everyone started to have Wi-Fi in their pocket, Wi-Fi speeds in their pocket. They were, not needing, like having a Wi-Fi hotspot at a bar or whatever was less of a draw. It wasn't like it was attracting people there. So bars stopped investing in them as much, and they just got bad, and they haven't progressed well. So what we read is that most of them are closed, and most of them don't work really well. So focus on 4G. So that's what we did. We bought a cell phone signal booster, which actually was fried in the lightning strike.
That was the one thing that actually started smoking.
Yeah, that was smoking. And so we actually just bought a new one. There's a new version of what we got, and I will. Maybe I'll put a link in this video of what we purchased. We haven't tested it extensively yet, but it already even seems a bit better than the one we had. They have some new antenna design or something that boosts the response back to the cell tower. So your cell phone signal going back is stronger, and I think that made a fairly big improvement. So we pair that with a marine cell phone antenna that we've just had mounted on our stern rail thus far, although we may rewire that now since we have to rewire it because it was fried, and put it on the mast. because the way that it works is it actually captures the cell service from the external antenna, sends it through a cable into the booster, the amplifier, which makes the signal stronger, and then it rebroadcasts it internally in the boat. And so you need like a good separation between those two antennas so that they don't cross talk and get noise. But that's like our stage one. When I like laid out this whole like communications plan, that was just stage one.
And stage two
Stage
was just
two
getting
was
the Wi-Fi booster.
Getting a Wi-Fi booster and then getting an internal Wi-Fi router to convert all of whatever signals coming in, whatever we can get at the time, and then convert it into like a Wi-Fi signal on the boat. Instead of just rebroadcasting the cell phone signal.
And it was actually gonna not combine, but like use whichever one was available.
Yeah, so you can get a router that will accept Wi-Fi, and then you can plug in your cell phone signal booster as well, and it will use Wi-Fi if you can get it, and if the signal degrades, it will automatically fail over to just using cell service.
Which is kind of cool, because if you're paying,
Yeah. But in the Bahamas, we didn't actually use it this last year, but we heard rave reviews about My Island Wi-Fi.
Unlimited. It was like, what, $70 or $75 a month?
Yeah, and there's been a few changes that I've heard of actually in the past few months that it's not going to be quite as good next year. But I think it's still going to be quite good. So we're going to test that out next year in December. A few months. But it's like totally unlimited, no capping, none of the slowing down the speeds or anything for like $75 a month. So that seemed pretty awesome.
Okay, where are we here?
Do we follow Tula's? We do, not on a regular basis. We don't watch so many of their videos just because it's hard to watch videos, but we've sort of chatted with them a few times via Instagram.
We kind of follow them on social media.
We've never met them in person, but they seem fun. They surf, which is cool.
Yeah. All right, so
what is this? I wanted to contribute to your parts fund, but the money doesn't work.
Oh, do you mean the super chat?
Yeah, I don't know
if that's what you mean. I don't know if we have or can turn that on.
Beamer Geezer.
But we've never actually used it. But apparently YouTube takes like.
They take a big giant cut of the money.
Jordan and Randy from Learning the Lines.
Yeah, you guys can chime in if you want. But.
Like 40% or something crazy. So we just, that's awesome. If you want to throw some.
Yeah.
For parts.
That's not the goal of this. Everyone here, you're all patrons already, so we're not doing this to try and generate more money. This is all to just answer questions and hang out with you guys. But if it's something you want to do, we really appreciate it. On our website, we have a PayPal link. Yeah. So any plans for the Great Loop?
Kinda.
Yeah, William.
Inadvertently, it's really funny because when we left to go down the rivers, everyone was like, "Oh, you guys gonna do the Great Loop?" And we're like, "Not really. We just want to get south."
Yeah.
And then now we're considering heading back north again, so we might actually complete the loop.
Yeah, if we get close, it's sort of like.
We did it.
We should.
Yeah, I know.
Like we've gone south now. Yeah, we've already done half of it. So we do plan to go up the East Coast next year, and there's a lot of cruising in the Great Lakes that we would really still love to do.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
It's funny because we're not holding anything back. We literally just have no idea.
Yeah. All right. How old are you guys? We are mid-30s. 30s. What am I, 35?
I am 33 and Kirk is 35.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're not sure how long we'll stick with our current boat. We're always looking. We're always kind of keeping an eye on what's out there.
And I don't think it's a big secret that, our first 5 videos were us looking for catamarans.
Yeah.
And we ended up with a monohull because it was what was going to get us out on the water, and that's what we really wanted.
Yeah. And it's a fantastic boat. Like we've a little bit become like the poster childs.
Yeah, children. You got it.
For Tartan 37s, there's like our video shows up pretty high up there for anyone searching for that boat, and so we get a ton of questions like every day about do you guys still like it? How does it work? Is it a great cruising boat? And it's even though we're looking for another boat pretty much constantly, like we still love our boat. We are over the moon about our boat. It's a beautiful boat. It's a very nice sailing boat.
Yeah, it's the fact that it sails well and that it's a decent liveaboard for the size that it is. We're just continuously surprised at Tartan and how well the boat is designed.
Yeah, it's very, very well designed. So, so we don't know if or when we'll be getting another or different boat.
Yeah.
But it's certainly something we're thinking about. Just thinking about our future and what we want to do and the longer distances we want to sail, and most likely with kids, a larger boat just makes sense. So.
Yeah, we're cruisers in the sense that we like to go for the destination, and we both enjoy sailing, but we're not like Bernard and Metissier out on the ocean for months at a time.
Sailing 1.5 times around the world.
Yeah, and just not stopping. Fun. Yeah, or maybe he had to stop because he needed more, I don't know, fruit or something. But like, yeah, it gets small, especially when you're out there with two people for a very long time, and we haven't even broached that really, and we're already feeling a little bit like,
what's that? What haven't we broached? Sorry.
Being out on the water for a very long time, like we haven't.
Yeah, no,
we've had access to land.
We've had,
like, if we wanted to get off the boat, we could get off the boat. It's like not a big deal, but especially thinking about adding, another small person to the boat, I think that would be hard.
Yeah.
And there's definitely people that do it, but the fact that we're working from the boat as well just makes it, I think, a little complicated.
Yeah.
A little small. But
Paul, can you specify your question a little to be more like? Are you talking about just if we had knew what we know now? What's the one thing we would have done differently when buying a boat?
Oh yeah, with regards
like
to
the
what?
whole trip, or give us a little more.
Specifics.
A tighter thing to focus on cruising wise.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's
okay,
let's table that for a second and think about it.
Geez, yeah.
I don't know. That's really hard.
It's very hard.
It's because I think it's hard to narrow down. Okay, here's the first thing that came to my mind. I think we would not have left Lake Michigan in late October. But I don't know if that's like, in an ideal world, we would not have left that late. But I don't think there's anything we would have done differently to enable us to leave earlier.
Right.
So I don't know.
It would have been, because we didn't find the boat until July 1st. And then we hadn't cruised. We hadn't sailed on a boat where you live on the boat for, more than
A week.
Yeah. And so we really wanted to take some time in the body of water that we were in, which was Lake Michigan, and test the boat out, see how things were, see how we were on the boat. And I mean, that kind of just pushed it. So then literally we're only talking about a few weeks there.
Yeah.
That we crammed in a bunch of like real general projects to make sure we were set for the river. And then, yeah, it's tough because it was to the point where either we don't go if we didn't go that late.
Yeah.
Which meant we would have been in Wisconsin until next May.
No place to live, no car,
right.
No nothing.
Yeah, that was the thing.
That we were seriously being frosted out.
Right. So it was like, okay, are we gonna live on our boat?
In a boatyard in the dead of winter.
In Wisconsin, or are we gonna just go? And so.
Or like rent an apartment and then like settle in somewhere and have to buy furniture.
Oh my gosh, thinking about doing that after already having done that the previous 6 years of our life, it was just like. Oh.
So I don't know. There's definitely things we would have done differently. I think
maybe more so on a small scale.
Yeah.
Like.
I think we wouldn't have hired arch builders.
Yeah, we wouldn't have done that. That's sure.
That's pretty clear, I think.
Yeah. That's probably our biggest.
That's the biggest mistake.
If we would have known, we would have taken those signals a little bit more to head.
Yeah, we would have not paid with cash.
Yeah.
We would have paid with a credit card, so we could have just said, "You guys suck. See you later." All right. Let's see. Okay, so Mark, to answer your question, we definitely sailed. We grew up sailing. We
Kirk
just didn't.
did. Kirk did. I did not grow up sailing. I didn't learn how to sail
Okay.
until I was in college.
Sure.
And I took a couple of ASA courses. So I didn't know that much
We just
about
had not lived on a boat.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
if you break down everything we did, it's kind of funny because not everyone, a large number of people have come to our channel from seeing our How Do You Run Aground in 8 feet of water or whatever. I don't even remember what the title is anymore. But
Yeah.
like, all of our bumbles and foibles in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're like, we get comments every day, even still, like, you guys are going to die if you go out on the ocean. And what are you doing on a boat? And all the stuff.
You should sell the boat and buy an RV.
But like, if you break down what we're doing into little bite-sized chunks, that's basically the way that we approached this entire dream of ours. So like, we first like sold off all of our stuff and moved across the country to like search for boats in the place that we wanted to sail the boat. And we sailed the boat and purchased the boat in a place where we knew people, so that we had like friends and family to like help us and to
that we could crash
with
at their
and
places.
to give us opinions on how this engine looked compared to another or whatever. So like, there was one little bite-sized piece, and then we just lived on the boat. So we just like moved all of our stuff onto the boat and just lived at the dock.
In Wisconsin for 3 months.
And took day sails
and did that little shakedown cruise that we did for 3 weeks.
Right, and then we did a week-long cruise across the lake, and then cruising for 2 weeks and back. And so like every little step of the way, it was just like pushing everything just a little bit further. And so it's a really, we took like a very methodical approach, and people coming to our YouTube channel for the first time and just seeing us make these really idiotic mistakes, it's like that was sort of the point, was like we could make those mistakes in the early stages in the very sort of comfortable, safe environment, rather than just being the headline news story of us going out through the pass at St. Lucie Inlet and like grounding our boat and having it sink, like. So we took a very calculated approach to all of this, even with some experience that we did have. It's just every new step was new experience and things that we hadn't done before.
And the fact that our boat is our home made the stakes a lot higher.
Yeah.
Like some people, they still have a house and they buy a boat, and that's fantastic because then you can really take it in small steps. But because we had to move onto the boat, and we had no other home, we tried to be very careful with everything that we did.
Yeah.
So.
We did not get our money back from the arch people.
Nope.
That's a thing we're just like totally putting behind us at this point and writing it off as money lost and lessons learned.
Yeah.
A cookbook, a Soulianis cookbook.
Oh gosh.
Gosh.
I definitely want to put more stuff in the videos.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be a long time coming.
We tend to not film during cooking a lot of times.
And it's because our camera sucks.
Well, our camera sucks and our boat is so dark.
Yeah.
And so we cook always after sunset because we have sundowners or, we're like hanging out or we're like doing stuff. So like our dinners are always late, and our boat is just so dark on the interior. It's just like we pull out the camera and it just looks like garbage.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, Kirk, this looks really good. And he's like, no, it doesn't. So that's why we don't have a lot of cooking filmed.
But we are hoping to get a new camera this summer. We've been waiting for a particular camera to come out that's supposed to have been coming out for like the last 18 months.
Yeah.
But it will be a large upgrade in
low light
situations. So hopefully soon. So do you feel we need a dinghy with a gas motor to explore more and get supplies? It's funny that you
ask that.
So we absolutely love our electric outboard. We are super, super stoked to have.
Eggs. Yes.
Our electric outboard has been fantastic. Like we used it. It was our daily usage, like our daily motor, like to get anywhere off the boat for the past whatever it's been, 9 months, 10 months. I don't know when did we get it?
We got it in
March,
February.
Whatever it's been, flawless. We have not had a single experience where it wouldn't start, or like the battery was dead, or there's no carburetor to clog, no plugs to foul.
We had a couple of times where it didn't immediately turn on, or it turned on and kind of gave an error code.
Yeah. And we unplugged it. It's like your computer. You unplug it, you plug it back in, error code's gone. And it's worked flawlessly, ever since. So and almost all of that has been solar charged. So like we never had to go anywhere to get fuel. We don't have to carry fuel. It's all just been powered by the sun, with the exception of our very first charge of the batteries and our very last charge. We were plugged into 120 volt from a wall outlet somewhere.
And so we actually don't have propane and we don't have gasoline on our boat because we don't have a gasoline outboard,
Right.
and we don't have a propane stove or a propane heater for whatever.
And that's been awesome.
So all we have is diesel.
There's nothing that like readily explodes on our boat,
Yeah.
which is a safety thing that we sort of overlooked. I mean, we don't even really think about it.
Right.
We have an alcohol stove, which is obviously flammable, but
Right,
there's no pressure.
Yeah.
It's not pressurized in any way, so it's not really explosive.
Right.
Yeah, we love our electric outboard, but we were actually just talking like 2 or 3 days ago about how in the Bahamas it would have been really nice to have a planing
It was
dinghy.
limiting. We'll definitely admit that.
So
because a lot of times we were thinking like, oh, it would be really cool to go explore this place 2 miles away and
Yeah,
not
or
have to move
yeah.
the mothership. But 2 hours in our dinghy would take
Right.
us, or 2 miles in our dinghy would take us.
hours.
To get there and back. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've literally in the last week we just started doing a little bit of research into like if we were to get an outboard, how big of an outboard would we want, and what do we want? And the reason we are super stoked about the electric is because not only all those other things, renewable energy and not having fuels and like all of that stuff. The thing is super light and it breaks down to 2
Yeah.
parts which are even lighter, and it's clean and there's like minimal maintenance. And like if we get an outboard, we now have to get fuel cans and we have to have oil and gas and parts to clean all of that stuff. And so
do we keep the electric? And
Right.
like, how do we? Yeah, I don't know.
so we're not sure.
Yeah.
But to answer your question directly, yes, it did feel a little bit limiting. There were a number of times where we're like, man, it would have been really cool to plane. But even when we were down there, every single time we were like, oh, it would have been really cool to plane. We're like, yeah, but just struggling with an outboard that won't start.
And then we just hit our button and go, oh, actually not even like,
yeah,
you can barely hear it.
we still wouldn't have given it up.
That was
So,
the other, that's such a cool thing that we don't actually mention that often, is that it's so quiet, you can sneak up on
wildlife,
animals. Yeah.
other boaters.
Yeah, like we've been so close to turtles and rays, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
So I don't know. There's like all. Yeah,
I know, if we could get the Navy 6.0, we just don't have enough.
I don't think that's the next step up. I think that's a bigger one.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Maybe it is.
I
But
thought it was.
the Navy series.
Yeah, we don't have enough solar to charge it.
Yeah, if we got a big old catamaran or trimaran with a couple kilowatts of solar and hydro generation,
For
we'd
sure.
totally get an
Yeah.
electric dinghy that can plane. But
Next boat.
next boat, yeah. So
Stress penguin. We actually no, but I really like the alcohol stove. We had never really thought about needing to
interview
replace it.
style. What question are we answering here
Oh, this one right
for
here.
everyone else?
Oh, right.
Talking
We
about
thought
an induction stove or oven versus the alcohol stove.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about it.
Have you?
Yeah, but again, not on this boat.
Thanks, Mark. Glad to have you.
We have just 440-ish watts of solar. I think on our next boat, whenever we get that or whenever we decide to upgrade, I definitely would consider electric cooking. Just to get rid of another fuel. And I think solar is coming down in price enough, and if we have a larger surface area to cover in solar, it would be super sweet to have electric cooking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Ooh, we are at the hour mark.
Yeah.
Okay, lightning round.
Yeah,
Do you
does
have
anybody else
any
have
more
anything,
questions?
any burning questions or anything else you want to talk about before we sign off
Yeah.
for the night? And we do look forward to doing this again. I think this format probably is going to work a little bit better as we go forward.
Yeah.
We've kind of started to work out some of the kinks in the live series
Yes.
here. So yeah, I don't know if anybody's got any questions, spit them out.
Thanks, Michael. Glad to
Yeah.
have you as well.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Cool. Will do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are working our tails off to continue to make these videos, and we hope that we can continue to make them faster.
Yeah.
It is what we try to do every video. One piece of advice of someone learning to sail and following in our footsteps. That sounds like a good one to close out the live event with.
Yeah. Do you have an answer?
I do, I think. Because I think, so we talked a little bit about how we made sort of methodical steps towards getting to where we got. Like, I think it's very easy to look at, all right, I'm going to go one level deeper for just a moment. I think it's very easy to look at everyone on YouTube that has a sailing channel, and you know, they all have aspirations to sail around the world and like live full time on their boat and like sell everything and immediately get on the boat and like just cut ties with their old land life and all of that stuff. That's not how everyone sails. And I think you know, we are a bit different in that regard, in that we've decided to continue working. We still have, you know, some ties to land life. And for us, it's because we really do want to make this like a long-term sustainable lifestyle. And the best way we know and the best way we see possible to make that happen is to continue to earn a little bit of money, and to give ourselves breaks when we feel like we need to get away from the boat for a little while. So I think that's one level, is, you know, there's a lot of fantastic stuff out here on YouTube, but you need to, like, if your dream is to go sailing, like, your dream doesn't have to be to like sell everything and then go sail around the world. Like, your dream can just be to sail in whichever manner and way that like makes you happy.
Yeah, definitely.
But then to just take it like one step at a time. Like, if your dream is to sail around the world, don't just focus on buying a sailboat that can sail around the world and like, you know, throw off your dock lines and go sail around the world. Like, take it in small bite-sized steps and whatever that means to you. And for us, that meant like learning how to live on a boat, learning how to live and work on a boat, learning how to move the boat and continue to work on the boat,
work, and travel
without
on the
immediately
boat.
Like setting off across the horizon. And, you know, just
Right.
taking those little steps one little piece at a time, and not throwing it all in at once, because it's super easy to get overwhelmed on the boat.
So maybe that means buying something small, and it's only
Yeah.
a day sailor. It's only a dinghy, just to learn how to sail. Take that piece first. Because as far as the sailing goes for me, I kind of learned most of what I know about sailing in and of itself after we bought the boat, after we left the river.
Right.
Once
we have
started sailing
learned
in
a
the
lot
Gulf.
still, for sure.
Oh gosh, there's so much more to
Yeah.
learn.
Like, we're not.
Or maybe it means buying a boat and moving aboard and then staying put.
Yeah, just hanging out for a while.
Yeah.
Like, you
so
know, people classify themselves as liveaboards or cruisers or whatever, and it's like, that doesn't define you for the rest of your boat owning and sailing experience either.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you're a liveaboard for a year or months or a few years or whatever, you know, until you
we actually met someone
sorted.
in Mobile at the marina that we were at.
That's a bit of an extreme
It
case.
was a very extreme. She had bought her boat and was living aboard, and didn't know how to start the engine or how to sail, but needed to move to another marina across Mobile Bay.
Yeah.
Her insurance actually covered a tow. So she was towed across.
Because technically her engine wouldn't start. Like,
Yeah,
it did need
that's
some
true.
work. So
Yeah.
she was a little bit using the system to
Yeah.
her advantage, but it
But I
was
mean,
also
yeah, like, you know, you can step into the dream of sailing and cruising from so many different
angles.
angles.
Yeah. So it's like life. Follow the beat of your own drum.
Haha. Way to close it out with a nice cliche.
Yeah. But guys, this has been really fantastic. I hope you know, we were able to answer your questions and give you a little insight into what's going on in our lives, and we're just so happy that all of you guys choose to, you know, take your time to share it with us. And
Yeah, and all of your support. Like,
yeah,
it's clearer and clearer and clearer how much you guys matter to this
Yeah, what we're
channel
doing.
and our videos, our journey, and it's just all, like, everybody we've gotten to meet in person, and it's just really, really cool.
it's like family everywhere we go,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So thank you all so much. We are going to close it out.
Yep.
And feel free to give us a shout on Patreon or wherever if you have other questions that you forgot about, and we'll do our best to answer them. And I'm gonna have to go back through this because I forgot to take notes about what we had to put down below.
Oh, the Wi-Fi booster.
Wi-Fi thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Good night, everybody.
Right. Good night, guys.
It's the awkward slow hang up.